We're good. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to Dawn at Oaklawn this morning. As you can feel and see, it's a little bit of a cool morning, so we appreciate you coming out here this morning and hanging out with us. And it's always fun to be around the horses and wake up and you start your day around them. So my name is Matt Dinnerman. I am the track announcer here at Oaklawn Park. Again, not to confuse us with Nancy Holthus, our paddock analyst, who is hopefully on the beach enjoying herself in Barbados this week. So I'm going to pinch hit here for the interview portion of Dawn at Oaklawn. And we have a very special guest today, somebody who is not only a big fan and a big person here at Oaklawn Park, but also a friend to racing. And his name is Ron Moquett. So, Ron, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. That works. There you go. There you go. So, Ron, I'm going to sort of tee you up with the easy questions to start things off here. And obviously, this is a very unique sport. It's a unique game. And everybody comes to it from different places. How'd you get involved in horses, first of all?
I loved animals, and I was around the match races and a lot of people that had horses for the match races. And I started playing with them early and fell in love with the fact that they like to run. And I thought that I could, learn to help them, make it enjoyable. And from that point on, once you start messing with horses, you never stop.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to be around people. It wasn't my family. It wasn't, I didn't start with a lot of people taking me to the races or whatever. It just fell in love with the animal first and then the sport second.
Do you remember your first job at the racetrack?
Yeah. Well, the first job I had at a real racetrack was here at Oaklawn. I was a hot walker. But the first job I ever had was, we called it cool stepping horses and cleaning stalls whenever I was about 11 years old, playing with them. And they would let somebody light ride them around because we didn't have a Eurosizer or hot walker. So they let us ride them around until they cooled out. So that was probably my first job.
Would you say that working on the backstretch, you learned to really appreciate the process of getting a horse ready for a race and the people that work back there?
Yeah, the thing that whenever I leave the sport or pass away or move on to the next racetrack in the sky, the thing that I want people to understand is horses are more than just numbers and programs. There's a lot to take that has to happen to get them to that race. And I know that we have to turn the page and go to the next race, but it took a lot of really good days to get this horse in the first race to the track for the first race.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of effort, and we've got a whole community of people back there that their whole job is to look after and care for these horses. So I love that we bet on them. I love that we like to watch them do what they want to do, but I really want people to appreciate how much goes into it and how much the horses need us and we need them.
And obviously, there are a lot of different facets to the game, and we'll go over that in a little bit later in more detail. But once you went out on your own, or even before you went out on your own, just as you started to sort of settle in, who were some mentors of yours that taught you either how to train or how to work with horses? Was there anybody specific or any special relationship you've had with people that still rings true today?
Yeah, I'm still learning today. I'm lucky enough here at Oaklawn. I'm around the winningest trainer in American history, which is Asmussen. We had lunch day before yesterday, and he's critiquing some things I do, and Lucas will critique me daily. And I mean, I'm lucky that we're around these people that have changed the industry, and I get to ask them and trust them enough that they're trying to help me get to be better. But the first person was Bob Clift. He was a big, tall, rangy guy that was too big to ride, and he let me ride his horses. And he was a real horseman. He wasn't just a trainer. He was a horseman. He did everything. He shot his horses. He made his own poultices. He did his horse's teeth. He did the whole thing. And that was the first guy I was around, which thankful was a friend of mine's dad. And then when I come to the racetrack, I was around Bernie Flint, who had everything from a very good upper class stakes horse to a maiden 5,000. And he wanted the best out of every horse. So it wasn't like, and I'm not knocking this, but there's certain people that get to come up only taking care of good horses. And if they get a pulse in their foot, they go to the farm. We didn't have that. If you had a horse that had skin disease or cracked heels or shod wrong or whatever, you had to fix it. It wasn't no send it to the farm and we're conditioners. We did it all. And I'm very appreciative of that. I was cussing it then, yeah. But now I'm very happy that I can draw back on that.
Sure. So how many horses do you have in the barn?
Well, Oaklawn I have the most anywhere, as you can tell by my starts, because of the Arkansas breds. I'm going to say we go between 60 and 75 here, but immediately after this, we'll kick a bunch of Arkansas breds out until next year, and I'll go back down to around 40.
And obviously, you talk about a guy like Steve Asmussen. He has as many horses as anybody, which is unheard of in this country. You have a guy like Dwayne Lucas, who you mentioned, who was really one of the first people to start split strings.
Yeah.
My question to you, because there's different ways to train a horse and there's different ways to train a winner, but what's your philosophy on training and how you take care of these horses? What's sort of your method for the madness, and why is it that way?
So I have quite a few owners here, and they can all tell you the one thing that I say over and over is every horse is an individual, and you do right by that individual. So you just let the horse tell you. Now, the best handicapping advice I can give somebody is to throw the damn win percentage away. That's stupid. That's what they already done. That has no indication of what they're going to do. But you got to understand that there's people playing different games in every facet. There's some people that train for breeders, and they're not going to have a high win percentage because they have to develop these horses. And there's people that's buying them and hoping to sell after they're first out. And there's people that's claiming them and going to claim them for 40 and run them for 20. And, the guy that does that isn't a better horseman or caretaker than the guy that developed a horse that should have run for 20 and he runs second for 30. It's just that number tells you he is. So once you realize how people are playing each individual facet of the sport, you're going to become a better handicapper. You're going to leave with more money. And luckily here at Oaklawn, unlike a lot of places, you can run into every type of stable in one spot, and the rest of the world gambles on it. And if you know this trainer's, idiosyncrasies, kind of, you got a chance to make some money against ignorant money from the East or West Coast that don't know that, that Wayne Lucas will run horses a lot more often than Brad Cox, or that Wayne doesn't care if they're a maiden, he'll put them in a stake race. And Bob Baffert comes to Oaklawn, you better pay attention. He's come over here and terrorized us, me included, for years. So, there's some things that you can learn by just paying attention here at Oaklawn that will, have you where you can buy dinner that night.
And obviously, being a trainer day in and day out, no vacations, right?
No.
When was the last time you took a vacation?
No.
Never taken a vacation since you started. When did you go out on your own?
98, I don't know. It's on Equibase. 97.
96, 97, 98.
Somewhere around there.
When you made the decision to go out on your own, were there nerves, or were you just, I'm ready for this, let's tackle this? And when you did go out on your own, sort of a two-part question, how many horses did you have?
So the first part of that is, yes, I was paying child support, had 2 kids in another place, and I was making $185 a week.
Wow.
So, and living in a tack room. So yes, when you say trainers are gamblers, I was a gambler.
Yeah.
So I left with a guy named Jim Meyer and Pepper Tree Farms, and he was just ornery enough to go against the schedule of giving all the horses to the same people to where he'd give me a shot. And then Dan White, and then luckily Ted Bowman came, and then now it's to a point to where I can train for who I want to, and I don't have to train for anybody I don't like.
Right.
So I gambled on that. I wanted to be a trainer really bad, more than I wanted to do anything else. So the hard-headed part come into play because there was a lot of times whenever a smart man would have quit.
The theme here is it takes time to get to where you want to be and set your goals. Was there specific goals when you went out on your own, and did you achieve them?
Oh no, I'm not even halfway there. I mean, the first goal was the first goal I ever had was to get a horse on the overnight at Oaklawn.
Wow.
I was from Blue Ribbon Downs. The first race I ever won, the purse was $1,000. That's $1,000. That means we got $600 for winning the race.
Sure.
So whenever I'm running for $140,000 races and $115,000 maiden special weights, you got to kind of, glance back at where you come from. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Sure. And, you think about how much time it takes to achieve your goals and be successful and grow your barn. So I can imagine that even though you have won some graded stakes along the way, I want to fast forward to Whitmore, who obviously a lot of people know. He won the Breeders' Cup Sprint a few years back, and obviously very special horse to you, and your wife still has him.
Yeah.
I just want to go through a little bit of a timeline with him. How did you acquire Whitmore? When did you get him, and what was he like as a young horse?
He was a test from start to finish. Everybody that's ever come in contact with Whitmore will tell you the same thing, that he was a bad attitude and a big body that could kind of enforce his views upon you instead of you teaching him stuff. So when I got him, it was at OBS. He refused to work in the 2-year-old training cell. So he refused to work, dropped the rider, and ran home. And I'd been at the cell, so I didn't get to see him work. And a friend of mine named Jeff Macker called me and said, "Hey, did you want to get some RNAs?" which means reserve not attained. So I was like, that means I can afford them sometimes. And so he calls me and he gives me a list of horses, and he sends me like 12 horses. And he said, "Oh, there's another 2 or 3 that didn't go to the cell or didn't go through the cell, but I'll send you those too." So he sent me a picture of Whitmore, and I looked through all the other ones, and then I saw this one, and I said, "Buy him." And the guy wanted $50,000 for him, and I said he didn't even work, and they said he's a bad actor and all this, and so I gigged him down to he wanted 50. I bought him for $37,000.
Wow.
And then brought him to Churchill Downs, and terrorized my wife and Greta with him because he was not friendly to anyone. And gradually, with their patience and good horsemanship and all our teamwork, we was able to get each other where we needed to go.
Was there a specific point in time where you said, "Holy smokes, this horse has some ability to be something here"?
Yeah, we worked him out of the gates once about 3 weeks before he ran, and it was like the other horse, something was wrong with it. And I was like, this was a pretty nice horse. And so immediately I went, "Hey, what's wrong with this other horse?" I never thought about it being that Whitmore was that much better, because that wasn't in my mind, because he was such a common dude that he wouldn't give you everything. He would work a half a mile on 52 and give you the middle finger. I mean, that's just what he did. Right. So whenever he outworked this other horse, I was like, something's wrong with this other one. So I go back, and the jock was like, "No, we did all we could do. It's just that thing is fast." So we go over there, and I'm like, "Oh, so he's competitive. Okay, so we won't work him by himself anymore. If we want to get to the best of him, he's got to fight somebody at everything." So he had to fight in the mornings too.
And like you said, individuals.
Yeah, they're all individuals. One of the things I was going to tell you, a unique deal. You asked me about my goals. I'm the only person I know that probably did this. I wrote down all the races I wanted to win on the wall in my house. It's on the closet door.
It's still there.
Yeah, and I wrote down, Vanderbilt, Forgo, Arkansas Derby, all these races, Southwest, all these different races that I wanted to win, and gradually I've been able to pick most of them off. American Pharaoh beat me, and we were second twice in the Arkansas Derby, so we haven't got that one yet. But we've been able to to reach the majority of those, but there's still some pretty lofty ones up there on that wall. So
Sure. And I'm sure one of them was winning a Breeders' Cup race. I'm sure that was a goal.
yeah, not just the Breeders' Cup. I wanted to win the sprint because I come from quarter horses, and the fastest horse was something to me.
Wow. And Whitmore gave that to you.
Yeah.
So describe another two-part question for you. Describe going into the race and how you felt about the horse, and then just the overall emotions of watching the race and seeing him do what he did. Because I remember watching you after the race, and you almost looked like you were still trying to process what had just happened.
Yeah, I was still processing it for a while.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, it was during the COVID time, and I've got a stupid autoimmune disorder, so I was staying away from everybody. So I was up watching, and whenever it looked like he was going to win, it's almost like it went like a movie, slow motion. Like, I knew he was going to win a 16th before the race, and all of a sudden I'm like, he's floating, and we're winning, and what in the hell? I mean, this is happening. And then I got to look at everybody else and notice all the other people that was excited that we was winning, including other trainers. And then, that was the thing that really impressed me the most about him was not just that I loved him, it's that Steve Asmussen loved him and was whistling for him. He had 2 horses in the race, and when he found out he wasn't going to win and Whitmore was, he kept whistling and cheering for Whitmore. Who does that? I mean, and
Right.
You wouldn't do that for anybody else.
Sure.
But because this horse was gutsy and tried hard and overcome so much, it was pretty cool. And then afterwards, on the way home, my wife and I, we drove the truck and trailer over there, so we drove him back. And we said, as we was going through the drive-through to get us, we pulled over and checked on him, and she ran in and got us some food at the drive-through. And we didn't go to a steak dinner or nothing. We had sandwiches, but we said to each other, we have the world's fastest horse on the back of the trailer,
Wow.
and we're eating
Wow.
to-go food from a gas station, basically.
That's pretty incredible. And, obviously that was his biggest win, but he's won a number of stakes races and just been great to not only for the sport, but also to you and your family. So retirement comes around. It's time for him to move on to something different. What's he up to now?
He's learning a lot of things. He's jumping. He's doing groundwork. He's doing all kinds of stuff, and he's still taking that same competitive nature, doing something else. A lot of these horses, when they're done training, really want a job, and the better they are, the more they need it. They're competitive. It's in their nature, so you can't just kick them out and let them eat and think they're going to be happy. A lot of them want to be ridden. They want to be messed with. So it's our job to figure out what they want to do and help them do it. Well, with him, he wants to be busy. He wants to do stuff, and he's jumping over poles. He's doing things with flags. I don't know what all he's doing. He's just doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and he's enjoying it. So.
And speaking of retirement, we looked right behind us. A lot of folks know you ring that bell after you win a race. And Ron, your connections and you yourself, after every win you have, you make sure somebody rings that bell, including our sumo wrestler yesterday.
I asked him. I didn't tell him.
You can't tell that guy to do anything.
560 pounds, I asked him.
Apparently, he had $60 worth of Subway before that Winner's Circle presentation, so that's all you need to know. But what's interesting about the bell and why we're talking about this, which is really interesting, is because, Ron, that's your baby right there. And so tell us a little bit how you came up with that and how it's grown since then.
I'm a part of a wonderful organization called the Arkansas HPBA, and their job is to take care of horsemen, and we wanted to put some light and take care of our racehorses when they're done. So luckily the president and all of us agreed that we needed to come up with an idea that would shed some spotlight to let people know that when these things are done running, they want to do something else. We got to make sure we take care of them. We got to place an emphasis on doing the right thing. So we come up with the bell, and that was after you win a race, that's when you're your happiest. Let's pay it forward a little bit right there, because eventually this horse is going to be done running. Any horse is going to be done running, and we're going to make sure that there's funds available if they run at Oaklawn Park, that we're going to be able to make sure that they have a life outside of racing. So it was my idea, but it was my idea with a group of people that are all wonderful, and I'm I'm happy that it's doing so well. It's taken off in other places. Now they got it in Florida. They got it going, and it's putting a much needed spotlight and support for these athletes when they're done with their racing career.
And one thing that's really admirable about you, Ron, is some trainers, for example, they're just horse-centric, worried about training. They've got that tunnel vision, which is totally fine. But one thing about you is that you're more than just about training horses. You're about growing the game. You're on a few different boards, for example, working with the HBPA. You know, obviously, you know management here very well, being here for so long. So tell us a little bit about what else you're doing, because I know, for example, you're on a board for HISA.
Well, my job is to keep HISA straight. They come up with a bunch of regulations. Horsemen didn't have much to do with that, so I'm one of the people that are the voice of the horsemen on that side. So a lot of times I'm there to argue with HISA, and everybody agrees we need regulations. We should all make sure that we have safety and integrity in our sport. We all agree with that, and it's just now we got to work on what's the best way to get that done and not put undue stress on the horses or the horsemen. So that's what I'm there for. I've got a lot of good people that are my teammates on that, and it takes a village, I promise you. I've been very pleased with the things that we've been able to accomplish so far, and we're going to keep working. Eventually, I think that we're going to work it out, and everybody's going to be okay, and we're going to get some good out of it. But right now, it's a lot of heavy lifting, and I'm fortunate to be one of the people over there that's yelling real loud for the horsemen.
There are a lot of things that we can work on as a business. And you could say that about any industry, obviously, but being on these boards and learning about the different facets of the game, what's the one thing that you believe the industry needs to do to improve things? What do you think?
Well, the first thing we got to understand is that horses would run without us. Birds fly without us. You know, we don't teach fish to swim. Horses run. The thing that we gotta let everyone know is that our job is to prepare these animals to do it on a certain day. It's not to make them do something they wouldn't want to do. The sticks, if you ever get a chance to feel one of the sticks, they're Nerf, they're foam, they make a loud noise and they don't do much. But I want people to understand that the sport is not what PETA says it is. It's not what the adversaries of racing says it is. It's a wonderful sport that needs to keep putting the spotlight on the horses, not the trainers. I don't think I ever want anybody wearing a shirt that says Ron Moquett on it, but if you wear a shirt that says Whitmore or Swing and Sway or Petrov or Far Right, then I've done my job. We're supposed to do things constantly to improve the breed, to make it safer, and we need to keep placing the emphasis where it should go, is on the animals and not so much on the wager. I appreciate the gamblers. We understand that we wouldn't be a sport without them, but they should gamble on what we put out, and we should make sure we put out the very best, but without making the gamble the priority. So many times we look up and I see horsemen get opportunities based on them, a win percentage or aggressive nature of how they train. I want it to be towards making the breed better. And I think that we could do it. It's already out there. The blueprint's there. If you look at the Kentucky Derby, I don't care. I'm going to hurt everybody's feelings. The Kentucky Derby doesn't have the best horses every year on that card, let alone in the world. On that card, if you'll look in the races before and after, there's better horses. But we've chosen to make that a big deal because we treat it special. If we treat every race special, then other people will treat it as special as we do. But instead, we focus on one or two big races. We don't realize that the racing industry is made up of a bunch of special races and special horses, but we put all of our focus on a few. And I want to spread it out and put the focus where it should be, is on these athletes doing what they were bred and love to do.
Ron Moquett, everybody. Let's hear it for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done.